Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Wright Brothers. We appreciate y'all taking this time once again to come back and join us. Merry Christmas. We hope you enjoyed Thanksgiving with your loved ones and are enjoying your way through the holiday season. Now, obviously, it is Christmas time. And with Christmas time comes the usual concomitant outrage from the other side of the aisle about different things that we've all honestly grown up with for generations. And today we want to really jump into some of the more laughable instances where people have found reasons to take umbrage with X or Y or Z. So we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wright Brothers along with us. If this is your first time watching, please feel free to press that like button at the end of this video and also press the bell icon so you're notified on all future uploads. Without further ado, the first thing we want to talk about today is around the advent of snow people. And you may already be shaking your head like, what does this really mean? But what snow people is basically is there's a new push to rename snow men, because obviously toxic masculinity is bad and anything related to males is bad. And we have to get rid of everything that has to do with men because men are bad. But before I go on in this vein, what's going on is we're seeing a trend now where people are starting to say, we don't need to have snow men or snow women, or we need to have just snow people. Just a completely gender fluid, what have you. And what was interesting is that actually a reporter from the Weather Channel was actually roundly scorned for his attempt to make this the new vernacular. And I'm throw that tweet up for you now as we keep talking. But this is another example of kind of people overstepping and overstepping their bounds and just saying that, okay, so now we are going to just completely rewrite the rule book, right? Now, here at the Wright Brothers, obviously, we're reasonable. We're rational people. We understand when certain things are in bad taste. But when you have to take into account is this is a very just innocuous term that people have used for generations to identify what they identify to be a snowman. It's not a big deal. But when we see this constant push to change things that really don't need to be changed in the name of a social justice or what have you, it really does just sully that which is just meant to be just a mirthful expression of the holiday spirit. So that's number one. But trust me, we've got a lot more where that came from. Eddie, take it away.
Yeah, well, for number two, it's hard to look at any of these stories and laugh. And to be perfectly fair, most of the reaction whenever some of these things comes up is usually on the don't take it very seriously side. I mean, of course, some people do put it out and are serious as a heart attack about you must call these figurine snow people instead of snowmen, and they have their own special place in the corner over there, and we get to all laugh at them. So let's get into this. This article was about the TV special Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving. Now, there's Charlie Brown Thanksgiving and there's also Charlie Brown Christmas. Honestly, personally, I'm shocked that these timeless cartoons are still on the airwaves with the PC culture push that we've seen a full court press on in the last decade or so. But nonetheless, Charlie Brown Thanksgiving has been aired every year on most major networks with basically little problem until 2018. And 2018 is the year when we found that the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving cartoon is actually secretly racist, and you can tell this by the seating positions of the children in the cartoon. Apparently, there's one scene where Franklin, the black character in the cartoon, is on one side of the table all by his lonesome, and the other characters, who are all white, if memory serves, are on the other side of the table. That one screenshot, that one still has been enough to promote outrage from sea to shining sea. And obviously, Charles Schulz was a horrible, horrible cartoonist and human being, and his work should be yanked from the airways. Now, the funniest thing about this is that if you know anything about the history of the comic strip Peanuts, Charles Schulz actually fought to get Franklin put into and kept in the comic strip. Actually, when newspapers threatened to drop his cartoon if he included the black character, Charles Schulz said that he was going to yank his strip completely if it was not included. It was a very purposeful inclusion to have him in the cartoons at all, and actually very progressive at the time. So the fact that anyone can try to call him out as being racist, or anything that comes from it as being racist, is highly humorous if you know the history of the cartoon. And furthermore, there were other characters that were white that weren't even included in that scene or in the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving to begin with. So the whole thing is pretty ridiculous and absurd, but that's the whole theme of the season. 'Tis the season for the triggering. Damani, what you got for us next?
Oh gosh, just when I think I've seen and heard it all, the bar is just lowered. And now we are millimeters above the floor, if you will. But
we're doing limbo now. We're doing the limbo.
It's really annoying though that the people feel the need to be overtly bellicose just for the purpose of being argumentative. And I don't really understand where that comes from. Like our next example comes from Dorchester, Massachusetts. And actually a neighborhood organization, they put out a Christmas card to the region saying I'm dreaming of white, and then it had a picture of Dorchester with snow falling. And obviously it was meant to evoke from the 1941 song. It was meaning to evoke, we're dreaming of a white Christmas. But of course, this is 2018 and logic no longer exists or is in short supply. We don't really know anymore. But basically, people were outraged over the fact that people had the gall to say they were dreaming of a white Christmas, and the Dorchester group that put it out actually had to issue an apology saying that they didn't think this through. Now, I'll tell you who didn't think things through were the people who felt the need to be outraged over this in the first place, because it's just an innocuous, it's a Christmas song. We know this, but this shows what happens when people go out of their way to grasp at straws and find something to be mad at. You can find anything to be mad at. Let me tell you. Yep. I can look around my apartment right now. I can say, oh, this stovetop is black. That's racist because it has to do with servitude of the black people. But do you see how silly that sounds? It doesn't make any sense. And it was funny even about Dorchester.
And yet plausible in this day and age.
Right? Anything goes. But what's more interesting is that in Dorchester, Massachusetts, the demographic breakdown is about 36% white, about 22% African American, 16% Hispanic, and 15% Asian. So with that being said, actually the minorities as a collective group are the majority, and yet people are still outraged. This goes to show you that this will never stop unless you finally just put your foot down and say, enough is enough. Yeah. Now, I wish this was the last instance, but I'm going to throw it over to Eddie because he has another example of basically PC culture gone out of control.
Yeah, I actually have another two examples, and to piggyback on yours, with the Christmas music, we've seen much brouhaha over a timeless Christmas song called "Baby It's Cold Outside."
Oh Lord, not that too.
Oh yes, we're going there. Long story short, it's actually not a new controversy. It's been brewing for a few years, where some progressives will make the assertion that the song is really about chauvinism and really about men taking advantage of women, and has undertones of rape within what have you. They basically managed to twist the words of a very innocuous and very sweet song actually into something rather sinister. But then again, if you know your history, you can pretty well find the reasons behind these things and pick apart these theories very quickly. The author of the song, actually, he just wrote it so it would be a cute little duet that he and his wife, but I repeat myself, he and his wife could sing at a Christmas party. That's it. It's not about rape. It's not about date rape, about taking advantage of women. No, it's about this is something cute where you and your sweetheart, you don't want him to go out in the snow, instead stay with you. The end. Yeah. These things are very innocent, and a lot of these things can be diffused just by a simple laugh and a simple look.
But you see, I don't want to cut you off, but you see that song though, the undertones of it. I'm playing devil's advocate.
Oh yes.
The undertones of it, they reestablish the patriarchy and how the men told the women what to do, and that's where it's coming from. So you are wrong. Actually, you are wrong. You need to change your way of thinking. Yes. Never play the song again. Never listen to it again. I'm just letting you know. This is what's expected of you in 2018. Okay?
I will
be a good little thought slave.
I will repent of my evil ways at once. And moving on beyond the music realm, also, I mean, we've all heard the mellifluous tones of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer emanating from the TV speakers this time of year, every year. Actually, growing up, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was my favorite cartoon as a kid. Or actually, it's not a cartoon; it's stop motion animation. Rankin Bass, one of the classics from them. But According to those on the left side of the aisle now, it's a tale of racism and bigotry and homophobia. And honestly, we don't even have time to go down all those rabbit trails. The gist of the articles that I've read has been Rudolph was abused. Santa was an exploitative, cur of some sort. And what really hits me is that it's actually a very progressive story. At its heart, it's about the little guy who's been ostracized, not just Rudolph, but Hermie and the whole island of misfit toys, how they're able to overcome their adversity, see their true value, and then show their true value to the world, and kind of gain, if not acceptance, then a position of authority in some cases in this weird messed up world that they're living in with talking toys and such. But if you take issue with every instance of adversity that's portrayed, how are we going to have any sort of an overcoming story to begin with? You had to see how bad it was for Rudolph in order for you to appreciate how awesome it was for him to, finally prove all of his doubters and naysayers wrong. You had to see how much of a jerk Santa Claus was. It's one of the few Rankin Bass films, one of the few Christmas films where Santa's really portrayed to be in quite a negative light, which is unique in and of itself. But I digress. But we're able to see how him being a jerk to Rudolph is overcome by Rudolph, showing what he really can do and being appreciated for it in the end, proving himself to Santa, to the elves, to his family, what have you. So a lot of this stuff, you either look at the history books or you look at, just the context in which it was originally meant to be presented. And like Damani said, don't look for reasons to get offended about around every corner, because if you twist something around in enough directions, chances are you can find some shade of it to be offended by, while the rest of us are having a good time and eating some Christmas cookies. So Damani, take us home.
Exactly. No, you're so right. And and the last thing we'll do, and then we'll close. We apologize. Sometimes we can act a little loquacious, but that's just the way things are. We know y'all have been waiting for 2 weeks now to see a new video, so we had to go all out for y'all. The last example is the blitzkrieg on the Trump family continues. This time, it was Melania Trump who was firmly within the sights of the leftist scopes, if you will. So what we're going to show you is this is how the White House appeared when Melania Trump decorated it earlier this month, or actually later last month, if you will. And what's interesting to note is that it's Christmas decorations, or holiday decorations. We're not going to go down that rabbit trail, but decorations.
That's a whole nother can of worms.
Exactly. But what's interesting is that, so she decorates these Christmas trees. Some are red. They're covered actually in cranberries. It was actually meant to evoke reminiscence of the shield and the red stripes on the shield of the United States president's shield that you see everywhere. But what people were most upset about was that it showed that, it was just a hellish landscape and it was just a symbol of oppression. Some likened it to the Handmaid's Tale. I don't understand where all that came from. What I'm going to do, though, I took a step back and I said, okay, maybe Melania Trump made a mistake. Let me go back and let me see how Michelle Obama decorated the White House in 2016 and 2015. And what I found was quite interesting. So what you'll see in the pictures of that display is that basically, actually, Michelle Obama, it could be argued, had, if you're going to go down this train of reasoning, there's, white decorations everywhere. And what does that say about race relations or whatever? But we don't play those games. That's the difference, though, is that if you're on the other side of the aisle, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to look at something or whatever and say, this is too white, this is too brown, this is too black, this is too green, this is too what have you, just because, you know what? Live and let live. This is the Christmas season. It's supposed to be the one time when we can all come together, remember that what's most important in life, but instead we're seeing that as PC culture
can't have anything nice.
We're seeing that as PC culture continues to invade our everyday life, even those little things we took for granted are under assault. What are they going to come for next? We might wake up one day and instead of Frosty the Snowman, we might see, Blackie the gender fluid snow person if this continues. But I hope it doesn't. Let's just keep Christmas what it is. As the mayor in Whoville said,
invite the Grinch, destroy Christmas!
Let's not invite the Grinch and destroy Christmas. That's all we have to say.
Keep him out.
Exactly. So we appreciate y'all taking this time.
Up on Mount Crumpet.
This is the last video of 2018. We could not do this without all of y'all's wonderful, wonderful support. We are so humbled by the outpouring we've received. We've only been online now for 6 months. It's crazy what we've been able to do. We couldn't do it without each and every one of you. So we appreciate y'all. Don't forget to check out our Facebook page, The Wright Brothers IPID. Engage with us, like the page, and talk to your fellow tribes people, if you will. We call our family the tribe. And we just want to say that we appreciate y'all. We're thankful for you, and y'all are one of the reasons we keep doing what we're doing. And we look forward to a fantastic 2019. So we appreciate y'all. Shout out to all of our loyal subscribers and supporters. And without further ado, thanks, gig 'em, and Merry Christmas.
Gig 'em, Merry Christmas, y'all.
Y'all take care.
The first revolution is when you change your mind about how you look at things and see that there might be another way to look at it that you have not been shown. The revolution will not be televised, and be no rerun, brothers and sisters. The revolution will be live.